So I mentioned in yesterday's video that one of my goals is to start trying to cook simple meals that yield a lot of leftovers so that I have something saved for tomorrow if I need it, or vice versa. It also gives Everett something to eat when I'm at work and he just needs to microwave some leftovers for lunch. One of my favorite resources for easy meal planning is the Fresh 20 Cookbook. The Fresh 20 Cookbook by Melissa Lands. What's really cool is she breaks down a week worth of menus into 20 major components like that you have to get from the grocery store. There are some other staples like chicken stock or pasta or things like that that you may have to pick up. But for the most part, the bulk of the meals is made from 20 different ingredients. And it has been a lifesaver because the meals are well planned out, they are reasonably healthy, and it's inexpensive to go buy groceries. And it's for a family of 4, so we end up with one week worth of food will get us actually about 7 days as opposed to the 5 days that each plan promises. I really like it as a cookbook for somebody who's learning how to cook because she's really good at explaining all the techniques and everything that you're going through as far as like step by step. And then she has little like interesting little side mini lessons, so to speak, about like how to make ricotta cheese, how to make just different, how to take different components and change them to give it a different edge or a different flavor. And so what I'm making tonight is called honeymoon macaroni and cheese, and it is essentially an updated shishi version of Hamburger Helper. And it is delicious because it is cheese and meat and pasta, and usually you make it with a salad. I'll probably make a salad. You start with, and I'm not going to give you all the ingredients like listed with the numbers because I really think you should go out and buy the cookbook. She also has a subscription where you can pay like a weekly subscription and she'll send you a meal plan with your grocery list and the approximate cost of what it should cost you to go get those groceries, which is really cool. I like the cookbook though because it's seasonal and I can go through it and go, okay, what do I need to plant in my garden to have everything I need to make these recipes when they come in this season. So I'm starting by browning Italian sausage, and I've done this with both pork sausage and I've done it with turkey sausage as well. I had to first remove it from the casings. I did not show you that because, let's just face it, that's kind of a gross process. And you're just going to kind of brown everything. As a general rule of thumb, keep everything on about medium because it's very easy for this type of stuff to get away from you. And one of the reasons I'm being so explicit with what to do is I'm a member of the Roots and Refuge Facebook page, like a lot of other people, and this woman was on there asking like if anyone had any really good ideas for YouTube channels for people who did not know anything about cooking, and I was like, well, I don't know of any, but you know, I have a YouTube channel. I'd be more than willing to create a series of recipes that somebody who's never cooked before in their life could do. So when I say browning, It means cook the meat until it's not pink anymore. See how most of the pink is gone? That's what you want. This is about where you want it to be. So I'm going to remove it from heat. Put that there. And I'm going to grab a bowl, and I'm going to remove, per her instructions, I'm going to remove the sausage from the pan. And her recipe says to put a couple tablespoons of olive oil or butter in the bottom of the pan. But I don't see the point of doing that. Because essentially by cooking the meat, you've rendered about a tablespoon or two of fat. I know this sounds disgusting. It's a good thing to borrow from Martha Stewart, because you've got the little tasty crunchy bits, the frond, and that's going to make this a really interesting dish. It's going to kind of take it up a notch. So we're going to add some garlic, a couple cloves minced, and we're going to add some onions. And we're going to kind of just move these around and cook them until they're translucent. And when I say translucent, I mean where you can kind of see through them. They're a little soft and squishy, and they smell really tasty. That is what you're looking for. You're looking for translucent, soft, squishy, smells super tasty. And obviously the grease from the fat that you rendered from the sausage is going to it's going to allow you to fry up the onions and saute the onions. One of the other things I really like about her cookbook is that most of the meals can be made in 20 to 40 minutes. Sometimes there's a little bit of prep that you need to do. Like one of the recipes, I had to roast a whole pumpkin. But you can pre-do that stuff, put it in the refrigerator, and have it ready to go for Monday if you do it on Sunday night. It's something to do to combat the case of it's Mondays. That was not smart. That was a little warm. Not burn your fingers warm, but uncomfortable warm. So I set this pot of water over here boiling about 10 minutes ago. And I'm going to add to it about half a bag of organic wheat fusilli pasta. Sorry, fusilli pasta. I don't know why I want to add extra syllables to things. Fusilli pasta, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's the silliest of pastas, it's fusilli. So about half the bag. turn over your dog. Give it a good stir so it's completely covered in water. And it'll come back to a boil. In the meantime, this is kind of what you're going for. It's squishy. You can kind of see through the onion. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a soft, semi-translucent onion. I'm going to give it about 2 more minutes though, because some of the pieces are a little harder. Pasta stir so it cooks evenly. Some of my water boiled away, so I'm going to add a little bit of extra water to this. So our pot doesn't boil away. Because ideally you really want your pasta to be covered with water. And the onions are just about perfect. I have about 1/3 of a cup of flour, whole wheat flour right here. And you're just gonna kind of sprinkle this onto your onions. I know that sounds really weird, but bear with me. Gonna kind of incorporate them. There's that word again. If you watch any of my cooking videos, I use incorporate a lot. I'm just gonna stir this in so that the pieces are pretty evenly covered with flour. And then the flour kind of starts browning a little bit, meaning it gets kind of a brown tone up to it. This is good, this is desirable. The reason we're doing this is because this flour is going to react to the milk I'm about to pour in, and it's going to simmer, and it's going to create a thickened sauce. So just kind of add a little bit at a time. Oops. When that happens, you just clean it up. I add about a cup at a time. And just keep stirring. So you don't want your flour, you do not want your milk to scorch. That is gross. When you're working with milk, turn down always err on the side of cooler rather than warmer, because it's a lot easier. You can always cook things a little longer. You cannot unscorch milk though. That is not going to happen. As this, you will know when this comes to a simmer because lots of tiny little bubbles will form. Those tiny little bubbles will make this seemingly soupy mess cook up into a nice, thick sauce that you can add your cheese to. Let the soupy sauce just kind of rest. Make sure you break up any floury clumps. Floury clumps are not good. Of course, when you add pepper. A little pinch of salt. And a little bit of smoked paprika. Just gonna stir it around. Make sure nothing's sticking, because sticking is no bueno. You will know you've done a good job when the only thing that is lumpy in your mac and cheese are the onions. You don't see any little clumps of flour floating there, and you know it's a clump of flour because it floats and it doesn't look like an onion. So now it's starting to like thicken up. And this is where the fun begins. I'm starting by adding some cubed unexpected cheddar. It is one of my favorite cheeses that Trader Joe's makes. And you're gonna let that melt into the sauce that you've created. That is really just flour, milk, and onions. But now it's cheese. Flour, milk, and onions. My pasta's finished cooking, so I went ahead and turned it off. It's gonna cool, and then I will incorporate that in just a second to the whole shebang. All will be revealed shortly. Do you have to stir it constantly? Probably not. Do I stir it constantly? Sometimes. There's something very cathartic about stirring cheese sauce. It's like exercising control over your domain. And I need a little control right now. I have to admit, the week this came from is probably one of my favorites of the fall recipes, because it has an amazing scallop recipe that if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen. You make a sage garlic butter, and you saute the scallops in it, and it is to die for. I have not met a recipe from this cookbook that I have not liked. There are some that I like better than others, but for the most part. And that's starting to really melt nicely. Then I'm gonna add, because there's never enough cheese, and because this is a huge recipe, I'm gonna add a combination of cheddar, jack, and mozzarella. The shredded cheese blend from Trader Joe's. And because it's starting to do the little sputtery thing, I'm gonna go ahead and keep stirring. It's really funny that this is kind of like one of those benchmark recipe, not recipes, but like the idea of hamburger helper that seems to be something that you see. They call it Newlywed mac and cheese because of the old stereotype that brides cook hamburger helper their first year of marriage because they are kind of out of their depth. But I remember this story about my parents when they got married. My dad made my mom promise never to make hamburger helper. And as far as I know, that's held true because she never once cooked anything like that for us. She's kind of like the reason I am the meal planner that I am. I remember her sitting down and making a calendar for the week and then figuring out what she was going to cook and what those, what the ingredients entailed. Okay, that is done. So now comes the next part. Typically, if I were making a lot of pasta, I would use a strainer. However, because I would need to strain the pasta and then just immediately move it over here, what I'm going to do is drain the water and scoop the pasta directly into the food, because I have this handy dandy slotted spoon, which does a wonderful job, and you don't have to pull out a colander, you don't have to walk over, dump it, bring it back. It generally works pretty well. I've made this with elbow macaroni, but when it comes to macaroni and cheese, fusilli is like my favorite noodle because the spirals cling to the cheese better than any other kind of pasta. Trying to get to the bottom of our pot of pasta here, which is fine. And now we're going to add the sausage that has been resting nicely over here. Add that to the mix. And that's that. About 30 minutes after I started, I pre-diced all the vegetables, we have the main course of dinner. So what I'm going to do to make this a little more well-balanced meal is I will plate it up with, I'll take some spinach, some sun-dried tomatoes, some other vegetables, and I'll just dress it with some dressing that I keep in the fridge. And that's dinner. I mean, that's super easy, and that's a lot of food. That's gonna feed us. I wish it froze better. That's my one issue with this recipe. Some cheesy things don't freeze better. I might try it at some point. I've got to figure out a better way of freezing it. Need more room in a freezer. My freezer's really small. I need to deep freeze. And all I have to do now is plate it up and get my husband, who's been moving the giant pile of wood chips out of the front yard into the backyard. Because wood chips, again, we're a little bit farther today than we were yesterday. I'm pretty proud of us. So thank you, honey, for the wood chips. I hope you enjoy the dinner, and I'll see you guys next time. So that's the finished product. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. Hopefully the husband likes it. If you are interested in learning how to make my chicken pot pie, click in the corner. And see you next time. Take care of yourselves.